My name is J. Sincero Beltran. I'm one of the founding fathers of GRAFSTRACT Expressionism here in New York City and the founder of TAG Public Arts Project. TAG Public Arts Project is about encouraging both graffiti and street artists, as well as fine artists, to come together while enhancing the visual landscape of urban communities with art. Right now, all the major art gallery shows or exhibits are happening in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Long Island City, all outside of the Bronx. People are traveling out there. We're bringing it back to the Bronx where it all started. This is how TAG is doing it. I grew up in the old Fort Apache in the Bronx, Prospect 182nd Street, Monroe Projects. I was never taken to any museums or art galleries, but I always liked to draw. I told my parents I wanted to go to art and design high school. I remember my 8th grade teacher telling me, don't bother trying to get into the school because you're not good enough. That didn't deter me. I went into the school for photography. I had to do a portfolio where I had to draw. Got accepted into the school without a problem. I had my influences in growing up. Me following in those footsteps, ended up landing me in a lot of trouble. One of my best friends was murdered, and when I had to read at his wake, I saw him laying in the casket, and I said, I don't want to end up like that. I gotta do something with my life. I didn't know what I wanted to major in, but that's when I decided to go to college, and I majored in writing and literature. So when I got my degree in writing and literature, I wanted to get my jump off into something else. So I said, let me go to City Tech in Brooklyn, and I went into graphics design, advertising, communication. And I figured out a way of taking everything that I was good at and flipping it into my own style. And I just never really looked back. I've always been a man of conviction, and when I started thinking about my name should be something that reflects who I am, where I come from, and what really best represents me as a person or as an artist. So I said, okay, sincere. But when you translate that into Spanish, I'm Boricua, Puerto Rican. I want to be true to my roots, so I want to be sincero. GRAFSTRACT Expressionism. A lot of people say, what is it? It's a way of producing artwork. I would say it's a hybrid, the trifecta, respecting graffiti styles and techniques, respecting street art styles and techniques, and abstract expressionism. When you talk about what's TAG, TAG's Public Arts Project is about encouraging both graffiti and street artists, as well as fine artists, to come together and contribute fine upscale urban art to urban communities that embraces our fine art. And because the artists believe in what TAG's Public Arts Project is all about and its mission, they actually come out here with their own money, by their own spray paints, their own buffing rollers, their own buffing paint, and they will happily produce a fine upscale urban art piece.
I started graffiti pretty much when I was 13 years old. Some scribbling, I would look up to the older fellows. I had a couple of friends and family members who actually were doing it at the time. I went into high school art and design, and it's all over the place. I mean, that school was so full of writers, and you would go into the bathroom and the whole bathroom was covered. Everybody at lunchtime was doing books, and there was no way to escape not doing it, And Even as a little kid, I remember playing with spray cans just as a toy. That rattle of that ball in the can was always attention getting to me, you know. Always wanted to get that metal ball out of there, that berry, you know. So it was destined, you know. As far as outlets, we didn't have any outlets back in the day. My outlets were the handball courts, alleys, whatever walls I saw I could get away with, trains, you know, and I felt we were beautifying the surfaces as well, you know. I don't even consider myself a graphic artist. I just consider myself an artist. You know, it's like, I don't think there's even a divide between street art and graph. You know, basically it's all street art.
When I send out invitations to the artists to join TAG in the Bronx to produce murals, inside of that, you'll find a clause that says, no graffiti lettering allowed, no vandalism to be done in or around the neighborhood where you're contributing, no vulgarity, curse words. If the community's embracing you, you have to embrace the community back. They're providing you with wall space, you're gonna provide them with art.
Bill and I, we were about 16 and we met at a mutual friend's house. We hit it off and started hanging out and painting together, and now we're in our 40s, so we've been painting together for quite some time. We both grew up in Baltimore. We didn't have subway trains. Hip-hop culture wasn't as prevalent as it was in New York back in the 80s. So for us to see Beat Street, and I know a lot of old writers and a lot of old heads and people who grew up here were like, that shit was whack. And I can understand, because they were doing stuff that was like way better than the stuff that was in the movie. But for us, it was our first little taste, you know. And Bronx is the home of hip hop, and it's where a lot of the inspiration that made us want to be artists came from.
In the early 90s, we had a number of influences that came in that sort of influenced our direction to like kind of grow outside of the norm, like the typical graffiti, you know, box. And we were interested in expanding on that. But also being like a public artist, feeling the responsibility to put messages out in the world that are, you know, can have like an influence on people. And really, I'm not interested in like feeding my own ego anymore. I'm interested in like, what can I contribute to this art form? You know, and I think as an artist, you're given a power to do something, and it's really up to you what you do with it. You know, and I like the idea of doing something that can hopefully influence someone else.
When I was growing up, I never really got to go to a museum or to an art gallery. I'm quite sure there's a lot of young kids out there that don't have that opportunity because they might not come from, you know, a specific family where financially they can't afford that. And here they could go into their own neighborhood and find something beautiful to look at. Legal walls and murals are just very hard to secure. And you also have to be a businessman about it in the way you present yourself. So I scout out neighborhoods where I see the potential of helping increase the property value of those neighborhoods. And TAG will go in there and approach the building owners, the landlords.
Sincero came to me because we have a property down on Ferris Place, our warehouse location, where he wanted to do the walls over there. I explained who he was, sent me some photos of the samples of his work. Wasn't going to charge us anything. This was something he wanted to do as an art project. Again, just for neighborhood beautification. So we were thrilled to have him with us. We have a beautiful building here. We've been in this location since 1968. We've been in business 90 years. And you want to do things that are positive. You know, when your business looks good, it helps your business as well. So there's a lot of pros to it.
One of the great things that happened with Bob Beater, he has buildings that did not have any illegal graffiti on it, but because he so much appreciated what we were doing with the whole beautification, he decided to give me all his properties to place artwork on it. We were able to use those properties as a prototype to show other landlords of what TAG is capable of when it comes to beautifying the Bronx. My wife is very supportive. You know, one day I just shoved the camera into her hand. I can paint and take pictures and do film photography, social media, and she ran with it. You know, my support every step of the way. Without her, I don't think I'd be able to do it at all. Even my daughter, she's been painting since she's learned how to walk. You know, I buy her canvases. She knows how to blend all her colors. You know, I'm very proud of her. My wife, she has a daytime job, but she comes home, she sits down in front of the computer and she starts editing video. It's become her passion. I really couldn't do it without her. Oh, and without my daughter either, you know?
Blessed today to be able to paint side by side with Crash. Always has been one of my idols, you know? You look at this guy, he was one of the pioneers of gallery scene for graph. You know, he's worldwide. He's one of the few artists who's on permanent exhibit at the MoMA. First to go to Europe, first to curate a graph show in New York. After that, it was like, we finally got into the scene. I mean, we still got a long way to go, you know, but times have changed a lot. Will your art withstand the test of time? That's the big question. That's what all artists got to think about.
Growing up in the 60s, I was really into early anime, Speed Racer, Gigantor, cartoons like that. But also I was really big into like comic books. That was like my first influence, and I was always drawing as a kid. I started writing in 1974, but I didn't do the trains until 75, 76. In time, you know, I got a studio and I just started messing around and it just evolved. Yeah, the tag project is cool because, you know, this is public. And people who never really had the opportunity or don't have the opportunity to go out and look at art, you know, because the Bronx is actually like the last, you know, refuge. We're always, you know, put back. So I think it's long overdue and it's great. People from this, you know, this part of the city, you know, can get into it, can get into art.
I would like to think my style is unlike anybody else's out there. You try to be like unique, just like Crash is unique. You don't even have to put his name on it, and you could be like, oh, that's Crash, you know. And I try to work my style that people could be like, that's Zimad, without reading my tag either. My mom would take us from the Bronx to Canarsie in Brooklyn to visit my grandmother. So it's a 2-hour train ride that I used to just draw. But being from the South Bronx, the fine art to me was the trains that I've seen, the handball courts, the side of the building, the hallways in the project. So that was art to me. Since the 80s, I've been getting paid for my works that I've done. You know, there's certain things that you pay for and certain things you don't. If you have a talent that is given to you to actually perform your art form, you should get paid for it.
You really cannot do this part-time. I expect to have all the benefits, reap all the benefits from doing this part-time. It's just impossible. You gotta really go at it and keep at it, and it takes years.
A friend of mine who passed away, Ronnie Catrone, said that if you do it like as a 9 to 5 and you put that effort into it, something will always come of it. And then it's up to you how you handle it.
You can change the way a neighborhood feels by the way it looks, and then that also changes the way people live and react within a certain community that looks a certain way. The vision that I have for TAG's Public Arts Project is to go beyond all city and also take it outside of New York as well. We really want to be able to be in a certain position where we could get funding to help us grow and expand, to really show everyone that what we're doing is really a good thing, you know? To be able to paint in the borough that I was raised in, I have to say it in Spanish, you know, soy bien orgulloso. You know, I feel very good about that. TAG's Public Arts Project is here to give back to the communities and create opportunities for artists. It's happening here and now. It's in the Bronx.